Good morning. It's Monday, September 17th, 9 a.m. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is receive comments from the public. Does anyone in the public like to step forward and address the board on an issue that's not on the agenda? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to number 4. Review bids and possible action to accept a bid for a contractor for the Muscatine County Administration Building Elevator Replacement Project with Mike Nolan of Horizon Architecture. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, gentlemen. We're back here again this morning, so happy Monday. This was a smaller scope project, so we sent this out for selected bidder to 3 bidders. We invited Kalachi Construction, Myers Construction, and Wolf Contracting to submit bids for the modifications to the elevator hoistway. And just as we discussed before, this is just the modifications to the hoistway. There's a separate prime contract with Schumacher Elevator to do the actual equipment. So just to review the project, Schumacher will come and remove the existing equipment. We'll do the modifications to the hoistway to accommodate the new equipment, and then Schumacher will come back and reinstall the new equipment. So basically the scope of work on this is to lower the elevator pit. So that's going to involve taking out the existing floor or the concrete slab, dig that down to have a minimum of 4 feet from the basement floor for the new elevator. And we also have to raise the top of the elevator shaft about 2 feet to accommodate a hoist beam there, and then some miscellaneous electrical modifications to prep for the newer elevator. We did receive 2 bids back. Kalachi decided not to bid the project. Myers Construction was at the low bidder at $72,890, and Wolf Contracting was at $83,805. The original amount that we had with contingency was about $90,000 for the general contractor scope of work. So we're definitely within the range there. So my recommendation is to award the contract to Myers Construction for $72,890.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. Any more discussion, board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Very good. Thank you so much.
Mike, what was the timeline on that? We know where we worked with Myers on that.
We have not set a timeline yet. Generally, it's going to be about 12 weeks lead time for the elevator equipment, but that is the equipment itself, so we could probably get started earlier than that. The only hard date we have right now is we will not start that work until after the November elections.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah, okay.
And then the only other piece we're working out on that is with the existing Permar is the existing vendor for the fire protection systems. There will be a little bit of rework to be done to bring the fire protection systems in line. Have a call out with Permar to get that part put together, but anticipate that to be a nominal in the overall scope of the project.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to go to the United States, so I will see you.
Thank you. Next, number 5, discussion and possible action to approve ordinance 09171801, rezoning certain real property in Fruitland Township from C1 Commercial District zoning classification to R1 Residential District zoning classification on the 3rd and final reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Matt. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. Number 6 is items with Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furnace. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
The first is review and possible action to accept the variance granted by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment on September 7, 2018.
Okay, Board of Adjustment heard one request for a variance. This one was at 3365 Water Street in Fairport. This was a variance that would allow the homeowner to build a garage onto an existing dwelling that would be only 14 feet from the rear lot lines to the required normal 40-foot setback. I'm sure all more than familiar with Fairport. The existing dwelling in this area did not meet that. It probably predated when those setbacks were established. Variance was also granted on the basis that the corner of the lot where this garage addition would be going was about the only spot on that property that was not in the floodplain. It was the highest spot. So it was really one of those perfect examples of how variances should be used, in my opinion, so that was granted.
Move to approve.
I just want to ask real quick, it's on the river side of the tracks and,
That's correct.
okay, I got you.
And the backyard actually adjoins a railroad right away, so it's not encroaching on anyone else's
Right.
backyard or any structures.
When I read this,
And it still maintains the same setback as the existing structure does. It would just be attached to the existing structure.
Eric, where on the parcel, it's kind of like a panhandle shaped thing, where
It'd kind of be the northeast corner of that parcel.
from there? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yep. And that happens to be the kind of the highest point on
Yeah.
the parcel, elevation wise too, so.
Okay.
all right, I've got a motion, by Jeff,
So,
second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. B is review of a special use permit denied by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment on September 7th of 2018.
I don't know that we typically put these on like this when they're denied. The ordinance talks about you reviewing of granted special use permits, but certainly something you're probably interested in. There was one denied for a rural residence special use permit up off of Vale Avenue, and the main reason the Board of Adjustment denied it was the recommended separation distance of 750 feet minimum. This one was like 400 feet from one residence, and there was several other residences
Right.
less than 1250, so there's no action required on your part, but that's why they did deny that one, because the proximity to other existing dwellings.
Next, C is discussion of possible action to approve resolution 09171801, approval of the combined preliminary and final plat of Taylor Cove subdivision.
Okay, the zoning commission recommended approval of this combined preliminary and final plat. This is off of Boxcar Road, right down to the Wise Muscatine County lines. The Taylor Doffel property. It's been zoned heavy industrial for some time as part of the large industrial rezoning that the county did years ago for the island area. However, this is basically a farm. It's agricultural. There were two existing dwellings already on this farm parcel, and the owners needed to create a separate lot for each dwelling. So they split off one dwelling. Because of prior splits in the area, it required a subdivision, but it does not allow any new development. No new driveways are going in. They'll use the existing drive that in the past and currently serves both residences as well. It just creates a legal lot for each residence to have.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion by Bob, second by Jeff. Any other discussion? This is a roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Nathan? Aye. And I vote aye. Motion passes. D is action to set a public hearing for Monday, October 10, 2018, on proposed amendments to the Muscatine County zoning ordinance regarding telecommunications transmission towers.
Okay, if you'll recall, probably a month or so ago, maybe a little more, I came to you and asked for direction to develop some specific criteria for construction and siting of telecommunication transmission towers. This was at the request of the Board of Adjustment. We didn't have anything specific to those types of structures. The main issue was setbacks, and now even decommissioning of towers no longer in use. So the zoning commission reviewed and recommended some amendments, and so that's what we'll hold a public hearing on. I think we've covered all the concerns that the Board of Adjustment had, developed some stuff that was similar to what other counties who have specific regulations use. So we'll hold a public hearing, but they did recommend adopting some regulations.
I'll move that we set Monday, October 10th for the public hearing.
I've got a motion by Jeff, a second. I've already got a second by Nathan. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else, Eric?
I don't believe so.
All right, thank you so much. Next is item of county with county engineer Keith White. Morning, Keith.
Good morning.
First up is discussion and possible action to approve various utility permits.
Okay, we have one today, which is from Eastern Iowa Light and Power of Wilton, Iowa. And they're basically looking to bore across the road on Burlington Road. They're their existing cable across the road. They're north of 2634 Burlington Road, boring across the road from east to west to private property to get an electrical service to a future new house. That's all that consists of.
I believe that's the one that was granted some time ago by the Board of Adjustment for rural residents. Just now getting around to getting started.
So I'll move to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Projects update.
Okay, the Iron City culvert, the southern one down there by the conservation area, Iowa Bridge did move in and get started. They've been working on their stream diversion. But the road was closed last Monday, a week ago. On G28, the subdrains, Peterson did move in on the west culvert site, and that's basically all they've done so far, so we don't really know when they're gonna start subdrains. Could be any time. No change with LO and the hot mix resurfacing, coin flip whether or not they come do any. Seal coat with LL Pelling, they are complete on 245th Cranston, 250th Salisbury, North Isett, and 180th, except for the dust control that we put over the top of that. And then they're planning to do 110th and Underwood today. Pavement markings, Vogel had all the white edge line done and about half the yellow, so they should be finishing up today and tomorrow. Seal reclamation and seal coat Manats. We'd expected them, but they've held up their current project, and so we're looking for them the end of the week or next week. That's the Steel Mill Road and a piece of Underwood. And they've used 15 of the 30 working days already. And they're not here yet, don't seem to be in a hurry. We've still got some bridge deck patching remaining. That's a maintenance contract that we don't have any schedule on that. That's it on projects underway. Designs kind of standing where it was, other than a will update on the culvert 475 elimination and grading. That project's being pushed aside to focus on slide repair design. So, I mean, something has to give to make time to do all these things. That's questions on projects.
I just have a question on the Iron City out there on that replacement, that bridge with that box culvert. What kind of time frame do you suppose we're looking at there? I can't remember what you said earlier.
Well, you know, it's a precast.
Right.
If the water levels, they get their diversion and get the site suitable, it's only gonna take them a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that the time frame should be pretty short. That creates some difficulty for area ag using that to the shortcut across, as you well know. And there's just
Bigger difficulty if they fell through it.
that could really complicate things.
So, and that's where we were getting.
I know. I'm very familiar with that structure.
I know everybody
it's
thinks
tired.
we plan our projects to, not you folks, but to inconvenience people, but that's not how they get.
No matter what day, you know, the way that runs along the river, no matter what day you do it,
Yeah.
it's gonna inconvenience someone. So, yeah.
So hopefully
the good news is the time frame is relatively speaking short,
Yeah,
so.
it's not like a cast in place that would take a lot longer.
Right, okay. Anything else then, Keith?
I just wanted to comment, I know you were going to be looking at the telecommunication towers, and we do have Windstream in the very southern part of the county, looking to erect as high as a 140-foot steel pole that they're doing a wireless project. It's part of this fiber to the world, I forget what they call it. We, the taxpayers, are paying for, so everybody's building like crazy. Now I've been trying to research this in several different ways. You know, we haven't ever allowed a 95-foot wood or 140-foot steel pole in our right-of-way. We haven't allowed that, but they've got a couple hundred of these sites, and of course, and frankly, none of them are near us. I'm asking, well, where are you at? And pretty soon they're citing Greenfield and Audubon, and I'm just like, you're getting farther and farther away. But of course, they claim they have 250 customers identified within the radius of these poles that, you know, they're not gonna get their wireless internet if we don't do this. They haven't taken it to the threatening level yet, and that they were polite. I had suggested that they be polite. And have you ever considered, you know, going out on private property? And of course the answer would be, well, that takes more time and it costs more money, and we're trying to save the taxpayer dollars. So I'm not sure how big of an issue this will become, but it might. You might want to think about it a little bit. I had talked to the state, the DOTs. They are citing some within DOT right away, but they don't have permission yet, and the DOT has some concerns. So, but bear in mind there's a big difference. If you got 300 foot of right of way, you can be a long ways away from the road.
So they're proposing to build structure in our road right away?
Yes.
Our county roads?
Yes. I mean, the other argument is, well, you got power poles out there. Well, power poles have been out there for decades.
And they're about 40 feet high.
And they're about 40 feet high. They're not 140 feet high steel.
Yeah, that's a whole.
And, you know, some of the state's, DOT's concerns, and ours too, is there doesn't seem to be a lot of design involved in what they're proposing to do. I realize
there need to be guy wires and all kinds of things, don't you think?
yeah. These are self-standing, but they don't seem to be stuck in the ground very far, and then not. So we have concerns, so we're not approving them at this point. And it, you know, hasn't risen to your level yet, may not, but
And
we have a concern.
this would just be like a tower? That's all pole?
It's a pole. It's really closer to, I should back up and say, you know, we've had some folks in the past say, well, we want to hang something on a pole on your property, and we've said no, and they've done something different. But you know, you're just hanging a little antenna up there. They will run fiber to this main 140-foot one, and the other ones talk to each other off of that. And apparently their internet speeds are between 25 and 300 megabytes per second, depending on your distance from the tower. And the house will get some small dish on it to look at that antenna hanging on the pole.
So is this something we should look at, through planning and zoning when you start talking about the towers again?
And I'll let Eric speak, but Eric and I have been discussing this back and forth and back and forth.
Pure and simple, this is an attempt to go around zoning, in my opinion. And try to utilize the county road right away as opposed to have to abide by, any requirements that zoning has. Cell phone companies, radio towers, or TV towers, all located on privately owned property outside the county right away. This is a telecommunication transmission.
So that's what it should be. Can't you throw it in with the other ordinance?
Yeah, when he first called me, I told him what our requirements were, and the gentleman asked about county road right away. I said, that's the jurisdiction of the county engineer. However, in my opinion, this is a tower like any other. I've talked to Alan, I'm not, and he feels strongly that we would have the authority to say, no, this can't go. However, I don't know if Keith's talked to him, I don't want to speak.
I think it's a slippery slope starting to let people.
I exactly.
Well,
You start doing this, then everyone's going to want to avoid having to lease some property from a farmer. The issue is not that there's not property out there to serve these 250 customers. The issue is they're trying to circumvent zoning.
Well, sure, and I don't know why we can't just take the lead on this and go ahead and put it into our,
I did, in the new ordinance,
Yeah.
however, this application has come in, the ordinance isn't adopted, it clearly says all telecommunication transmission towers shall be located on privately owned property outside of the public road right of way. Just to be extra proactive, I think it's.
we're ready to address it. and
I think
we
it's
just have to
suggested
pass
already
this.
in zoning because we list telecommunication transmission towers as a special permitted use in the different districts. To be ultra clear, we're addressing it in these extra requirements we're adopting, but this is just an attempt to circumvent zoning.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm not too keen on the idea.
well,
'Cause then you-
they're really, we're a part of the Louisa Columbus Let's Build, and there's a lot of them. But there's no reason it can't be elsewhere in our county. Take Liberty Communications, they're burying, miles and miles and miles of fiber to serve their customers. I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or otherwise, that's what they're doing. They might say, well, we want to put up 10 towers out here in the road right away. Told you, I know there's one, sometime back where I told somebody no, because my opinion at that time is we have an easement for a road right away, not for a communication tower. Now, folks, they want to hang their hat on the fact that they are a utility underneath the Iowa law, and utilities are allowed in the right-of-way type of thing. But my concern is just what Jeff said there, that going in the future, we got a lot more of these. But anyway, I brought it up today. I want you to be aware of it in case it becomes more than it is. Right now, like I said, I've talked to, I'm on the 3rd level, and I've suggested they be polite, and they have. But they may not continue to be that.
Well, I worry about the liability that we may take on, and I don't like that at all, because that's the other thing, they're just shifting the liability away from them onto the county. And then, you've talked about before, like with the underground cables, if they get broken, something happens to them, who's gonna have the responsibility for repair and all this, and it gets pricey. So, yeah, I wanna stay ahead of this if we can, and get something, even if we have to push something through before your original plan to, you've got a total change of ordinances, more than just one, and you're gonna just put it through as one. Well, we may wanna think about putting
Yeah, I
something
think
through
I
ahead of time.
agree with Eric. Our zoning ordinance addresses it today. We have telecommunications towers, clearly what it is. We say it's on private land.
I think the opinion or the issue may be what rights do they have under the title of public utilities. They're allowed by utility permit that he brings you quite often. This may be a question that Alan needs to research a little bit more, though. Are those subject to us saying no in certain cases?
But even utilities, do they have restrictions in the right way for like transmission facilities, you know, the big metal, you know, those, they don't put those in our roadway right of ways, they put those in different places, run them across fields. And
Well, as an example, we had a little pre-construction meeting with Mid-American and their fiber. And when they cross a Johnson County, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong otherwise, but Johnson, a number of counties play this game of you will be within 2 foot of the right-of-way line. Well, when the right-of-way line's a bank like that, it's impossible, okay? And that's the game they play. I just, again, if we had a 300-foot right-of-way like the state usually has, and they're 150 feet out there, I might say we ought to consider that. But when most of our right-of-ways are not that size, and you got a 140-foot pole that can come down, I mean, I don't know when it comes down, and maybe never, and maybe the next day. I guess I have some concern, and hence, like I said, we've been
Did you
working
get
on
a
it.
picture or a diagram of what these poles are like?
Yes,
Could you just email that over to us so we can look at it?
sure. The easiest I would say is think of stuff that you see Musco having, and that's what you're looking at. But I mean, yeah, they're like several feet around at the bottom.
yeah, and that, you know, that takes a big footing, and I worry about the guy wires.
They're drawing, they have no footing, so. No footing, just stuck in the ground, and they're not stuck in the ground very far, so.
This seems like one of these projects that there's a whole lot of things going on, and not many of them are good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And most people don't know what's going on. It's all about the buck.
You know, there's a lot of things can go wrong, very few things can go right, in my opinion, in a situation like
Yeah.
this.
but, yeah, I think we're out ahead of it with
Be hindering
what's
progress.
proposed. I just, again, if you should start getting phone calls,
Field next door.
want you to be aware.
Yeah, so I appreciate it as one person, because I don't know about all this stuff going on all the time, so it's nice to know.
Kind of feels.
But I just think, you know,
the road.
just a tower, you know, like that, a structure 140 feet in the air, that needs some needs some thought.
Yes, it does. Okay, that's everything?
Everything.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it, Keith. Number 8, discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the September 10, 2018 regular meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Bob, second by Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Next correspondence, Bob, do you have anything?
Just one contact from residents this weekend. They didn't specify, but they're unhappy with the Lindell Bridge Road, so they said they were gonna come before the board. I thought they'd be here today, but I'll talk to Keith about it a little bit. And they weren't specific because they were gonna come before the board, so we'll just wait and see what comes out of that. That's the only thing I had this past week.
Okay, Nathan?
I did get an email from a person living out on 180th Street concerned about some washing out. We talked to Keith about that.
Okay, I had nothing. Jeff?
Nothing.
Matt?
Nothing.
Committee reports, Matt? Yeah?
Nothing. I did attend a Farm Bureau event the other night, last
Tuesday the 11th.
Tuesday at the Hellman.
And was that everything?
That's it.
Okay, I as well attended the Farm Bureau event on Tuesday the 11th. That was it for me, Nathan?
I had the 7th Judicial Correctionals meeting on Friday, the 14th. We discussed a lot of housekeeping matters, also more discussion on the pre-sentencing and the metric that's being used and tested out for what level of supervision and bail to grant people for their trials. I also was supposed to go to the Farm Bureau thing, but unfortunately, family got sick that night, so my apologies to the Farm Bureau folks.
Okay, Bob?
On Monday the 10th, our emergency management hire group met made a final decision, but I'm not at liberty yet to say who that will be. We're doing the background checks now, making sure everything's in order. On the 11th, I had the Milestones Area of the Aging Advisory Board. Nothing really special come out of that. It's a pretty basic meeting. And then also that night, I was at Farm Bureau as well. And that's all I had this past week.
Very good. Number 11, receive information from county employees. Anything? No? Okay. 12, items with the administration office. First is review the health dental fund balance as of August 31st, 2018.
That spreadsheet's in your packet. We continue to pretty much stay steady. Holding our own.
Okay. Anything else, Nancy?
I do not have anything else.
Nothing else? If there's nothing else to come before the board, meeting adjourned.